I look back and still feel uncomfortable and uneasy about the way she acted. Gets this close to this girl's face, just yelling at her for no good reason. So I'm just sitting there writing a quick text. The bell didn't ring yet, and I look up. I kid you not, she is this close to my face. She's this close to my face.
They tell me I'm a god, I'm lost in the facade, 6 feet off the ground, at all times I think I'm feeling odd. No matter what I make, they never see the stakes, making so much bread, I don't care that they're just...
Hello everyone. We're sitting on my bed, and that just seems to always be where I tell my stories. So, if you couldn't already guess, today we're telling a story. If you're new to my channel, what the fuck's up? My name is Anna. I talk shit, I tell stories, I look pretty. That's really what I do here. It's a fun place. You should definitely subscribe. If you don't want to, that's cool too. I'm recording on my mom's phone because I record on my phone. I know, but my phone is broken. Where's my phone? I don't know where, oh, it's right here. My phone is broken, so I'm recording on my mom's phone, and this quality is different. I don't know how to feel about it. I feel like I just look dull. I don't know if I'm gonna look dull. I might put filters on this shit because I'm not really feeling it. But, yeah, whatever. This story is about probably the worst teacher I've ever had in my life. She was mean, to say the least, wicked, ableist, horrible, offensive, aggressive. Definitely the worst teacher I've ever had in my whole life. I don't even know where to begin. This story takes place my junior year, and if you watched my video, my recent video, basically just summarizing my shitty high school experience, you would know that my junior year was my worst year of high school. I hated my junior year. I would show up every single day in school with like rolling out of bed. I just didn't want to be there. Like my mental health was so bad because of the school, and COVID literally saved me from it. But yeah, so I was already like so miserable being in school, and this class was literally my hell. So I'm gonna kind of paint the picture for you guys so you can kind of understand what exactly I was dealing with. It was a math class, and I hate math, first of all, but honestly, this teacher could have been teaching anything, and it still would have been horrible. So, it was my junior year math. The room, actually, before I should say this, there was 2 teachers in the class. So there was the main teacher guy, and then there was the horrible mean lady. They were both really bad teachers overall, like really mean, miserable people, but the lady is who was really the worst. I need to name them. So I'm literally just looking at my little nightstand right here to figure it out. The guy teacher, we're gonna call him Seashell, because I have a seashell right here. And what's this? Hair vitamins. We're gonna call the mean teacher lady Vitamin. So Shell and Vitamin. So, there was 2 teachers. Vitamin was the woman teacher. She was there to assist students in the class. So there were some students that needed more assistance in the class, and that is why she was there. She was also there just to assist the other students too, but her job in the class was to basically assist the teacher teaching and assist the students who needed more help. Then the other teacher, Shell, he was like the main teacher dude. He was just basically the main teacher dude. I don't know what else to say. He was also very miserable. Both very miserable, mean people. So, now that we established the characters, I'm gonna allow you guys to paint the picture a little bit. So, The classroom was easily the most miserable classroom in the world. The only good thing to come out of this class was my username, and I'll explain that later on in the story time. So, it was the most miserable classroom you can ever imagine. There was no natural light. It was all just artificial lighting. There was 0 windows. It was literally built like a prison cell. The walls were cinder blocks painted white. And then there was just like a giant board, and it was desks all facing a board. And the classes and the times of the class at my school, it was like 60 minutes, I think. So for 60 minutes, we would all sit in rows. It was like 2 desks together in rows. We would all sit in rows and just stare at Shell doing fucking math problems all class. That was the whole class. We would just sit there staring at him do math problems unless we had a test. That was the entirety of the class. There was no natural lighting. The walls were cinder block, painted white. Any posters or boards on the walls were literally just lists of assignments and math problems. It was the most hell-like room I can ever explain. Like, it was horrible. Like, I felt like I was treated like a robot in that class. Like, we would just sit there and stare at the main teacher dude, Shell, do math problems on the board for literally an hour straight. An hour straight. Like, that was the whole class. And obviously, like, it's hard to pay attention for that long, especially when we're learning, like, such hard topics. I was doing so poorly in the class. But that's like not even the point of this story. It was the most miserable classroom you can ever imagine. And I would always just like try to escape from the situation just because I hated being there so much. Like, it was such a miserable place to be. Because, okay, so imagine having like the environment I just explained with not 1, but 2 mean-ass teachers watching over you, right? And the lady teacher, the one who this story is mainly about, Vitamin, would literally, as Shell was teaching, Vitamin would just go up and down the rows, and anyone that wasn't staring straight at Shell teaching would get yelled at. Like, it was crazy. Like, I can't even explain it. Like, it was so bad. Like, that is how I imagine, like, boarding schools to be. Like, every classroom being like that. Like, crazy. So crazy. Like, such a horrible learning environment. I can't even express it. Like, so bad. So, as I was saying before, but I kind of cut myself off, I hated being there, and I would always just try to escape from the situation. So, as I was taking my notes, I would always draw, and I would always draw the same thing, and, like, I would always think to myself, like, while I was in the class, I was like, if I die and Christianity is real and I go to hell, this is my hell. Like, you know, in American Horror Story Coven, how every character has their own, like, specific hell? Like, that classroom would be my hell. Like, that classroom would be my hell. So, like, I would always draw in the class, and I had that, like, narrative in my head that, like, I'm dead and this is my hell. So I would draw little gravestones, and they would say, "Rip Anna." And, like, I would just always draw them every single time I was in the class, and, like, Vitamin wasn't, like, hovering over my shoulder. I would draw them. On TikTok, they only let you change your username, like, every 2 months or something. So every 2 months, I would make my username something different because I couldn't decide on what I wanted my username to be. And then eventually, I was just, like, trying to escape this situation in class. So I walked into class that day. I was like, okay, today we're gonna try to figure out what my username's gonna be. And obviously I couldn't figure it out, so I was just drawing my gravestones like usual, and then it came to my mind. I was like, "Rip Anna." That makes so much sense. So that is the only good, valuable thing I took from that class, my username. But everything else I hated and did not need to happen and was completely unnecessary, and I'm gonna tell you in this video. And Shell or Vitamin, if you're watching this, I just want to tell you, I'm looking you right in your eyes right now. You're a bad teacher. Like, you're a bad teacher. Like, you need to go back to teaching school, figure out what went wrong, and fix it, because you did nothing but upset kids on a daily basis. Like, you provided children with nothing but misery, okay? Like, they didn't walk out of your classroom with any sort of valuable information or life lesson. No. They walked out of your classroom miserable, upset, and unhappy. And that is not how a teacher should be teaching. So you need to evaluate what you're doing wrong and change it, because I seriously think if you continue teaching the way that you're teaching, you will either be fired or a kid is literally going to flip out. Like, there is no constructive thing you're doing about the way that you're teaching. And I am like, now that I'm an adult and it's been a year and like I've had time to think about your class, I have came to this conclusion. I think you're a horrible teacher and you need to go back to teaching school or literally just get a new career. Like, you seriously need to evaluate everything you've done in your life, because if you've dedicated years and years and years to being a teacher, those years were a literal waste. You did nothing but make kids miserable all the time, okay? Now that we have that established, Shell or Vitamin, if you're watching this, let me tell my followers or whoever's watching this, my friends, what the fuck you did, because it was horrible and I'm gonna expose it. Okay? Okay. I'm normally not that mean. My followers know I'm normally not that mean, but like, they deserved that. They deserved that. They did. Trust me. After you watch this video, you will agree with me. They deserved that. So, so as I explained before, I'm like, oh my god, I'm like getting mad again, like thinking about this whole situation. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, now I'm ready to tell this story and I'm not angry anymore. Okay. As I explained before, the classroom environment was literally so horrible and unhappy. I literally describe it as my own personal hell. So it was hard for students to thrive in that learning environment, and the teachers were just so strict. I remember one time, this kid literally got yelled at for coughing. Like, he was just minding his business, taking his notes, and it was like allergy season or some shit, so he was coughing, and the teacher literally, this was Shell, I believe, who did this. Shell literally looked at the kid and was like, "You need to stop." And he was like, "I'm sorry, I'm just coughing." And he was like, "Well, you need to stop that." Like, that is just how strict and like authoritarian-ish-esque, I don't know, the learning environment was. Everything you did was scrutinized. Every single thing that you did. From like looking in another direction, to sneezing, to coughing, your handwriting, everything was so scrutinized in that environment. It literally felt like jail, honestly. I literally think of that classroom as my own personal hell. So the teachers were just so mean, but Vitamin specifically. So Shell, as I said before, would just stand in front of the classroom for an hour straight, showing us how to do fucking math problems in the most boring way possible, and Vitamin would walk up and down the rows and make sure we were all staring directly at Shell. It was so bad. So there was a lot of times where these teachers just blatantly abused their power, specifically Vitamin, and to this day, it literally disgusts me. Literally disgusts me. It was just so inappropriate and weird. Sometimes I'll think back to my teachers and I'll be like, okay, that teacher was such an amazing person, easily one of the best teachers I've ever had. Or I'll think back to another teacher and be like, that could have been better. But never have I looked back at a teacher the way I look back at these two individuals. They were the worst teachers I've ever had in my entire life. It's crazy. It's literally crazy. It's like, I can't even explain it. It was to the point where I would be so confused because of how toxic the learning environment was. I had a pretty good relationship with my math teacher from the previous year that I would literally take my work to my old math teacher and literally ask her if she had time to help explain it to me. Like during the mornings, instead of going to my current teacher's extra help, I would go to my math teacher from last year's extra help and literally just beg her to help me, even though like it wasn't in her job description to help me learn this specific material. So that is just how bad it was. There was just so many times they blatantly abused their power, like I said before. So I'm gonna break down two of the worst moments where Vitamin just blatantly abused her power to the point where I look back and still feel uncomfortable and uneasy about the way she acted. Sometimes I think that teachers either become teachers because they love children, they love young people, and they want to help them learn and grow, or they just love power and they like being in control of people. And I definitely think these two teachers are the latter. They just wanted to be in control of people in like a really weird negative way. I like don't want to explain this any other way than how it exactly happened. So I'm gonna try my best to literally take myself back so I can perfectly explain it to you guys, because it was such a weird, almost like abusive, verbally abusive maybe situation, and it happened twice. Bear in mind, I only had my junior year until March whatever, until like March 14th, March 13th. And there was so many instances of weird stuff like this happening, but 2 times did it involve me, okay? So the first time, I would say it was probably about like December, January maybe of either 2019 or 2020. And I was just sitting there minding my business. We didn't have to stare at Shell doing math problems on the board, but instead we had to do math problems ourselves while Shell and Vitamin walked up and down the aisles making sure we were doing our work. This one girl raises her hand. She's a very nice girl. She was one of the people who needed more assistance from Vitamin, if that makes sense. Vitamin was there to help this girl. So Vitamin should have been so nice to this girl. Vitamin should have been so understanding to this girl. Vitamin should have been overwhelmingly nice to this girl, but it was the exact fucking opposite. So the girl raises her hand very respectfully and she's like, I need help. And then I'm just like trying to do my own work. I'm in my own little world, like thinking about a million things. Like I told you before, I would always try to like bring myself into different situations to ignore where I presently was. But I look over, I see the girl raising her hand asking Vitamin for help, and Vitamin gets this close to this girl's face, just yelling at her for no good reason. Like, your jacket's on the floor, your bag is opened, you're doing this wrong, I told you how to do this a million times, you're doing this wrong, you need to pick up the pace. Like, I remember her saying to her, you're a mess, you need to clean yourself up, you're a mess, like, clean yourself, like, calling her a mess, like, for no reason, like, telling her that she needs to clean up. Like, I think she was just talking about, like, her workspace, but why would you call someone a mess? Like, it was so rude. Just being so fucking mean to this girl for no good reason. And I was just sitting there watching this, and it was making my blood boil. I was like, oh my god. Oh my god, like, it almost felt like I was on an episode of What Would You Do? Like, I literally thought John Quinones was gonna pop out. Like, that is how messed up this situation was.
Hi there, I'm John Quinones, and
I was, like, baffled about how much Vitamin was yelling at this girl. Like, I literally thought John Quinones was about to pop out of the closet. Like, that is how bad it was. So, I'm, like, sitting there, like, like so surprised that she is yelling at her like this. I wasn't really surprised. I was just so shocked and like startled and scared almost. And I just like turn and look at my friend. I'm like, why is she being so mean to her? And I say it so fucking quietly, so quietly. I just couldn't not say anything because the way that Vitamin was treating this girl was so despicable. Like I couldn't just sit there and not do anything. Like it's almost like if any of you guys have like parents that went to like Catholic school, this was almost like one of the stories they tell you about like those crazy ass nuns like 30 years ago. It almost had like that vibe. Like that is how abusive and weird that situation was. So, oh my god. Telling this story is making me so mad. Like I don't want to take my breaths again, but like it's making me so mad thinking about this. So I look over at my friend, I'm like, what? This is what I said verbatim. I remember this clear as day. I literally look at her and I'm like, I don't even think I spoke it. I think I literally mouthed it. Like, I'll mimic the exact way I said it. I was like, why is she being so mean to her? Like, that's the exact way I said it. A second later, I'm in my own world again because I'm just trying to take myself out of this negative ass situation. And I hear Vitamin saying my name. I'm like, sorry, excuse me, what'd you say? She's like, if you're gonna say something, just say it to me. If you're gonna say something, just know that I can hear you. And at this point, I'm so mad. Not only did you literally just bully this girl and was so mean to her, but now you're yelling at me for being disgusted by your behavior. So I'm like, so I was thinking in my head, I stayed quiet for a second because I was contemplating how to handle the situation in my head. I was like, should I just ignore her or should I literally say something right now? And I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm already failing this class. It's not like they can fail me for defending me and this girl right now. And I really just hate these two teachers. And I don't say hate a lot, but I think these two teachers are literally genuinely horrible people. So I crossed those two options in my head, and I decided to clap back. I'm like, I'm not letting this like 50-year-old bully teacher get her way. So I look up at her, and I'm like, okay, I'll say it for everyone to hear then if you want to be like that. The way you just yelled at her was disgusting, and I don't appreciate that. And it made everybody in this class uncomfortable, including me. Please don't do that again. And then she was like so shocked that I said something because I don't think any kid has ever defended themselves against this lady. Everyone in the class was like, that I like said something to this lady, and her face went like pale almost that I said something. And I was like, yeah, I just don't like how you just treated her in front of the whole class. It made me really uncomfortable. All I said, to insert my friend's name here, was I didn't like how you were being so mean to her. I just don't appreciate that behavior. It made me really uncomfortable, and I don't like how you yelled at her like that. And then she was just so shocked that I said something. It was crazy. So then she was like, come speak to me in the hallway. I'm like, okay. So I pick up my bag because I was anticipating that she was going to kick me out of class. And then I pick up my bag, I get all my shit together because I literally thought she was like sending me to the office. In retrospect, I think if she were to send me to the office, she would be getting herself in trouble and not me. I just think she wanted to be a dick to me, and that's why she called me into the hallway. But I honestly think she was scared at this point because she knew what she did was just so wrong, and she knew everyone in the class agrees with me. So we get in the hallway, and she's like, why do you feel that way? I'm like, listen, you know, like, you're here to help this girl. This girl has some sort of learning disability, and you're here to help her. I don't understand why you're using that power and abusing it when this girl is nothing but nice to literally everybody, and she only just wants clarity on the assignments. I don't understand why you're being mean to her. And her whole face like sunk in because she realized what she did was so fucked up, and she realized that she finally had a student that was not gonna take her bullshit. So her whole face went pale, and she was like, I didn't mean it like that. Like, I didn't mean it like that. And I was like, then what did you mean it like? Like, it was just really mean, and like, I didn't appreciate it, and it made me really uncomfortable. I can't imagine how she felt when you were yelling at her like that. And she was like, I didn't mean it like that. And I was like, then what did you mean it like? She was like, well, you don't really know what goes on. I have her for a lot of classes. Like, it's different. I'm like, okay, I don't really care what the circumstances. It was just really weird how you yelled at her like that in front of the whole class. And she was like, I have a daughter with special needs. I'm not like that. I have a daughter with special needs. She kept saying that. She kept saying she has a daughter with special needs. I'm like, and I don't really care if she has special needs or not. Like, the way you yelled at her, no one should speak to another human being like that. And she was like, okay, I'm sorry I made you uncomfortable. I'm not like that. I have a daughter with special needs. I'm like, okay, okay, hon. So I'm like, so when she said that, I was like, okay. I mean, it's okay, I guess. It's fine. Like, I accept your apology, I guess. I was just saying that because I just wanted to get out of the hallway. I still don't accept her apology to this day. But then I go back in the class, and everyone was looking at me, like, smiling. I'm like, yep. I just put her in her place. Yep. Finally, someone stood up to her. I don't know why I had to be the first one, but someone finally fucking did it, so. And everyone, and, like, then, just fucking wait. So, right as I sit back down, I start doing my fucking math problems again. I look up, and, like, Shell and Vitamin are, like, communicating in the corner. And one of my other friends in the classroom was sitting kind of more near them than I was, and he swore that he heard her say literally something ableist. He's like, that's what he told me at the end of class. I don't want to repeat it, but she just like said something really mean in like a weird context. It was just like a really mean sentence. But he literally told me after class that when the two of them were talking in the corner that he heard her say something. I don't know how true that is personally because I didn't hear it out of my own two ears, but I don't doubt it, so I just figured I'd throw that in the video. For the rest of the class, like the two of them are literally just whispering about me, and I just have to sit there and deal with it. Whatever. So then when class ended and the bell rung, everyone was going up to me like, I can't believe you did that. Like, I can't believe you finally said something to her. And I'm like, yeah, like, I wasn't gonna just let her put me on blast like that when she was blatantly in the wrong. And then that's when the kid told me he heard her say something, and like, everyone was just like, literally like, I can't believe you did that. Like, she's so scary. She's so scary. Like, I don't think any student should be scared of their teacher. I don't think that's how education should be. I don't think a teacher should be scary. I've never really been scared of a teacher until these two people. I wasn't even scared of them. I just really disliked their character. Like, I don't think any teacher should ever be scary. I don't think that's how education should be. But all of, like, the whole class was in the general consensus that these two teachers were literally horrifying, and I just, like, that made me so upset. So after class, I took my shit and I went to the guidance office, and I sat down. I waited in the guidance office for a long-ass time, and I sat down and I literally just explained to my counselor. I don't think I was able to talk to my counselor, but a counselor about everything that happened in the class. And they literally told me at the guidance office, well, you should try having a conversation with her. Like, I don't think me having a conversation with her is gonna do anything. Like, the way I literally sat my ass down in the guidance office, explained the whole situation to them and how disgusting and unfair and disturbing and despicable it was, and they just looked at me and said, well, you should talk to her about it. Like, I feel like the whole reason a guidance counselor is there is to provide help to their students, student-teacher problems and schedules and, like, college or job shit. Like, I don't understand why that counselor couldn't literally pick up his phone and call her supervisor, because what happened, if I was in charge of the school, I would fire her. Like, it was so disgraceful the way she treated that student and myself in that classroom. And I don't understand why guidance provided me literally no help in that situation. I just thought of this, and the person whose story this is just gave me permission to say it. One time, one of my friends in the class literally passed out. Like, she passed out in the hallway. And, like, obviously, you passed out. That's a medical emergency. She just started walking straight to the nurse. And, like, the vitamin, I was calling her, vitamin, like, finds her or something. And, like, was like, where are you going? Like, where are you going? Why didn't you ask me? Like, she didn't just pass out and have a medical emergency. Like, she was giving her a problem about going to the nurse after she literally just passed out. Like, I can't make this up. It's so crazy. Like, it's literally crazy. So after that happened, I had a target on my back because they hated me because I stood up for myself and my classmate. So they hated me because of that. Every single time I would say something, look somewhere, I would be scolded for the rest of the year until COVID happened. And it was, like, bad. Like, it was pretty bad. Like, I remember one time I was doing so poorly in the class. Like I said before, I would literally ask my other teacher for help that, like, I had the previous year. And I literally had, like, a 20 on this test. And I literally got, like, a 20. Actually, no, I think I got literally a 0%, and I tried. And I showed it to my mom, and I was telling my mom all these stories, and I was like, Mom, like, there's nothing I can do. I can literally go to this man and ask him for help in 1,000 different languages, and he would say no. Like, there is no way he is providing me any assistance with my grade. And she was like, can you just please at least try? And I'm not gonna say no to my mom when she's just asking me to try to get assistance from this dude. So I'm like, okay. So I take my test that had a fucking 0% on it. I feel like I have a picture of the 0%. I will put it in if I find it. I can't find a photo of it, but I vividly remember now. I literally got a 0%, not because I just didn't do anything, but because I got every single question wrong. Every single question wrong, and I tried. Like, that's so pathetic. Also, it's 7:32 a.m. I stayed up all night editing this, so you should subscribe because you probably can't find another 18-year-old that cares that much as I do. Because I love you guys and I love posting. Ew, what was that? Like, you don't have to subscribe. I did this to myself. I could have just, like, I could have just pre-filmed this and edited it yesterday, but no, I like to do everything back to back. I got Dunkin' and a bagel. I take my 0% test to this teacher. I'm like, listen, is there any way you can help me with this? And I was just so annoyed that I had to be speaking to him because literally I wish there was a video of it because now I'm, like, vividly remembering it. I walk into the classroom, and this was, like, the day after I got my test back with a 0% on it, and when he saw me walk into the classroom, he got this, like, evil grin on his face. I'm talking about Shell. He had, like, this evil grin on his face. Like, he was so satisfied that me, a student he didn't like, was asking him for something. Like, it was so uncomfortable how, like, he just craved that sort of power. So when I walked in and asked him for help, it was such a weird, like, attitude he had. Like, he was, like, so, like, satisfied that he could, like, turn me down, if that makes sense. So I walk in and I'm like, I'm gonna just be a bitch because I know the answer's gonna be no. Actually, no, that's not what I did. I was like, I'm gonna, like, be nice at first, and I know the answer's gonna be no, so then I'm gonna be a bitch. So I walk in, and I'm like, I see that weird-ass grin on his face, and I'm like, this is how that's gonna be? So I walk in, I had my test in my hand, I put it in front of him. I'm like, is there any way you can help me with this? And he had that, like, that weird grin on his face literally grew as I said that. And he was like, no. And I was like, I hope you know I'm not the only one struggling in your class. I said something along the lines of that. And he's like, well, you don't come to my extra help. And I said, well, I actually go to Miss Insert Teacher's Name's help because you don't like me. And then he like had this like weird expression on his face, and I took my test off his desk and I walked out. And like it was just so many instances like that where they just literally refused to assist me in the class because of that one previous incident where I didn't let Vitamin literally verbally abuse that girl and myself. So then just for like months and months and months, these teachers would literally just gang up on me. Like I was drawing, I would get yelled at. I was looking at the ceiling, I would get yelled at. I went to the bathroom, I would get yelled at. Like just so many weird things like that. Like I couldn't breathe in the class, like without some sort of criticism. Since there was 2 teachers in the class, when one of them was absent, there wasn't necessarily a substitute. The other one would just kind of take over. I mean, there was a substitute. They would just kind of sit in the corner because the other teacher just taught the class and the substitute just kind of was filling the void, if that makes sense. They would just kind of sit in the corner and like play on their phone, and the other teacher would focus on teaching the class. Teaching wasn't teaching. Was not teaching. It was like torture, not teaching. This incident made me so mad, and I'm so thankful that COVID happened like a week later. So I normally would wait until the very last second before the bell rang to walk into this class. So like I would wait right until the bell was about to ring to walk into this class just because I hated being in there with literally everything in me. Like I said a million times, I would describe that classroom as my own personal hell. If I was in American Horror Story Coven, that classroom would be my hell. So I walk into the class early this day. I didn't wait to do my little bell routine. I walk in a little bit early. I'm a couple minutes early. I put my stuff down. I get my stuff all out and together, and I'm responding to a text on my phone because the bell didn't ring yet. The bell didn't ring yet. The bell did not ring yet. Okay? You understanding me? The bell didn't ring yet. Okay. Shell was absent. Vitamin was there. So Vitamin was in charge of teaching the class. So as soon as I realized that, I was like, oh great, this lady fucking hates me. Whatever, I'll get through it. I always do. I'll just like imagine something in my head and that will keep me busy for the hour. So the bell didn't ring yet. I had all my stuff down and together, and I'm responding to a text on my phone. So I'm just sitting there writing a quick text. The bell didn't ring yet, and I look up. I kid you not. The last time my head was up, this lady was in the front of the room writing shit on the board. I swear to God, if you guys ever watch Jennifer's Body, you know how Jennifer like teleports places. This is like what that was. So she was in front of the fucking room writing her stupid ass shit on the board last time I looked up. And then I look up from my text, and she is this close to my face. She's this close to my face. I don't know how the fuck she got there. I didn't see her move. I mean, maybe that's why she's so fucking evil. Maybe she actually is a demon or some shit, and she like gets her nutrients off of making kids miserable. That would make a lot of fucking sense. So I look up and she's this close to my face, and I'm like, hi. Like, I didn't know what I did wrong because the bell didn't ring yet. I just thought maybe she's just in a silly, goofy mood today.
Oh, Lord. I'm sorry. I'm just in a silly, goofy mood.
I didn't know what I did wrong, so I just said hi. I was like, was kind of confused. I thought maybe she's just in like a silly, goofy mood today. So, I'm like, hi. And then she goes, give me your phone. And I was like, no. The bell didn't ring yet. And then she goes, you have a detention with me. And I said, no, miss. The bell didn't ring yet. And then she tries to rip my phone out of my hand. And I ripped it back. And I was like, the bell didn't ring yet. And she starts screaming at me. She's like, you have a detention with me. I said, no, I don't. I don't even know where your room is. And she said, now you have 2. And I said, no, I don't. And then she was just getting so mad because I wasn't backing down. So then I was like, I am leaving. So, and I'm like, I can't even, like, it was, the whole situation was worse than I'm explaining it right now. Like, she was this close to my face the entire conversation. Like, I am not exaggerating. If anything, I'm, like, not exaggerating enough. Like, this situation was so bad. She was so close to my face, like, trying to rip my belongings from me, like, telling me I did things wrong when I didn't, like, literally gaslighting me. Like, she was being fucking crazy. She was being fucking crazy. Like, literally, the way she was behaving was so inappropriate and unacceptable. Like, she was this close to my face, yelling at me about things I didn't do and telling me I have detentions that I don't deserve. And first of all, that's like some weird shit, because when you, now I'm just like realizing this now. Anytime a student had a detention, the teacher who wanted to issue the detention would have to go to the teacher who was in charge of discipline. Then the teacher who was in charge of discipline would then call down the student and tell them they have a detention. A teacher just can't be like, yo, you have a detention with me, come to my room at this time. No, 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 no. The school had to issue the detentions. The teacher had to go to the school so the school could issue me a detention. She can't just be like, you have 2 now. Like, you have 1. Like, no, that's not how it even worked. So I don't know what kind of sick shit she was on telling me I had to come to her room at a certain time, because that's not even where the detentions were held. But that was also weird now that I'm thinking about it. Like, girl, you're not in charge of detentions. You don't get to tell me when and where I have a detention. You're not in charge of that, babe. Like, there's a teacher at my school who was in charge of discipline. She sets up all the detentions. She sets up all the detentions, where they're happening, when they're happening, what students are being there, what teacher is running it. That is where the detentions take place. That is who was in charge of the detentions, not fucking Vitamin. Now I'm realizing that was also really weird that she was telling me I had detentions when I didn't. No. She would have to write me up, and then maybe I would get a detention. She can't just be like, oh, come to my room at this time, you have a detention. So fucking weird. So after she's like weirdly getting in my face and being so inappropriate with me, like, I don't think I've ever had anyone be this aggressive and close to my face. She was so close to me, and it was just so weird and aggressive. So I was just like, I'm leaving. Like, I'm leaving. I don't know. I don't have a detention with you. You're not taking my stuff. I didn't do anything wrong. I'm leaving. I think I literally just said, okay, I'm leaving. Okay, I'm leaving. I was just getting so mad. I, like, wasn't even looking at her because she was literally breathing in my face, and I didn't want to even, like, look at her. So I was like, okay, I'm leaving. So I get all my stuff in my bag. I zip it all up, and I go to the, actually, no, I think I just literally picked up my phone and left. I think I literally left all my shit there. I picked up my phone and I went to the guidance office, and I sat there for literally like 40 minutes, and then I got in touch with a counselor. I'm pretty sure this time it was my actual guidance counselor, and I sat down with her for literally like 30 minutes, just like bawling my eyes out, crying. I was like, I don't know who hired this lady. She is such a bad teacher. She literally abuses her power. Like, this is what happened to me last time. This is what happened to me this time. This is how she treats other students. This is how she talks about other students. Like, she's telling me I have detentions that I don't even have. Like, I don't want, like, I was literally just, like, pouring my heart out to this guidance counselor about the situation, like, explaining so many things this teacher did wrong, and I get the same response. Did you have a conversation with her about it? Did I have a conversation with her about it? What? What would a conversation. Like, now that I'm thinking about it, like, this is like Jennifer's Body, but like weird mean teacher version. Like, why would I have a conversation with this lady about it? I have tried to have a conversation with this lady about it, but she's getting this close to my face and telling me I did things wrong that I didn't even do. There's no conversation with this lady. Like, what? You literally have her supervisor's number. I see all the phone numbers on your wall. Why don't you call her up and... Hello? I'm filming a YouTube video. Alright, I'll be done in 5 minutes. Try. I'll be done in a couple of minutes. It's already like, I'm almost done with it. Alright, bye. Apparently I'm being too loud. I get loud when I'm angry, so that makes sense because this story really brings out something in me. You can see how angry I'm getting. Like, look at the rash I get. I get rashes on my chest when I'm either angry or anxious. This is definitely the angry rash. Where was I? I literally poured my heart out to this guidance counselor, like literally begging, being like, please do something about this lady. She is crazy. She's a horrible teacher. Please call her supervisor or get her in here. We can have a mediation. I don't know. I can't do this much longer. And she was just like, you can just try talking to her about it, and if that doesn't work, we can maybe do that. How am I supposed to talk to her about it? She clearly has no regard for any of her students. If anything, I think she's literally pleasured by being mean to students. Like, there's no getting through to this lady. So I was just like, okay, whatever. At this point, I was like, no one's gonna help me with this. I'm just gonna have to fail this class and keep clapping back to this teacher until June. That was my mindset. I was like, no one's gonna help me with this. I was already making videos at this point, so I was like, this is gonna be good content in a year. Need to make sure I don't forget any of this, which I didn't. So literally every single day, she would just be so mean to me. The two of them would be so mean to me. I remember one time she was nice to me and I was like, what the fuck? Like, that was so weird. Like, I looked at my friend, I was like, did you see that shit? She like told me she liked my nails or something. Like, that was the only time she was ever nice to me, and I looked over at my friend, I was like, what the fuck was that? Like, it was so weird that she was nice to me one time that like I was shocked. Like, she was just so fucking mean and aggressive, and oh my god. So I left the guidance office that day, like, preparing myself to having to deal with this lady until June. I was just getting through it. The days I did have her, I would make sure to not let her just like overstep the boundary and be mean to me for no reason. And another, like, a whole week goes by of me just feeling so uncomfortable and unhappy and miserable in the class. I'm just like so upset. Like, I was in such like a bad place because I hated school so much, but like when I was in that class specifically, I was literally so miserable. I like literally I couldn't. Like, I literally physically couldn't do it. Like, I would literally bring myself other places. I'd be like, okay, what TikToks are we going to make when we get home today? Okay, what should we do when we get home? Maybe we should draw a cool picture. What TikTok sounds do we want to use? Like, that is how I would literally fill my time in the class, just because it was so miserable I could not be present. So a week goes by, and then my spirit guides or whoever above was like, Anna, you've been good recently. We're gonna give you a pandemic. And I was like, thank you so much. Like, I don't, like, okay, I know it's like selfish of me to be like, yeah, like, I love COVID, like, thanks COVID. Like, no, hundreds of thousands of people died. Like, obviously I don't appreciate the pandemic. I don't like the pandemic, but I appreciate the fact that COVID got me out of the hellhole that was that class and my school. Like, so, it was so bad. Like, oh my god. So a week after she got into my face and was like screaming at me, the pandemic happened. So I never ever saw that lady ever again. The whole rest of my junior year, it wasn't even like Zoom calls or Google Meets, and they would literally just post assignments and I would just submit them. Like, I never had to deal with these people ever again, and all the answers were online, and I just was like, I'm free. I don't have to deal with these mean-ass teachers anymore. That was the story of the two worst teachers I've ever had in my life, and how one of them was literally ableist. I know that was a lot. I've been recording for 52 minutes and 19 seconds. Hopefully I'll be able to chop that down a bit. I am not sleeping tonight because I want to edit this video. If you like this video, you should subscribe because I have a lot more story times coming about my high school because it was really fucked up. Follow my socials, Instagram and TikTok, they're down below. Subscribe. I'd appreciate that. I love you guys all so much, especially anyone who sat through this whole video because it's a long one. Yeah, I love you guys so much. Goodbye. I'm sending you all good energy except for Seashell and Vitamin. Everyone else gets good energy. Also, who else doesn't get good energy is the mean kids from my high school who hate watch my YouTube videos. Everyone else, you don't fit into those 3 categories. I'm sending you good energy. Okay, goodbye. I love you, except if you're in one of those 3 categories. Okay, bye.
Press the button to begin.